Hi, Kit with you, Flower Duet, and we're going to make this beautiful flower design to celebrate July 4th. Going to use this pretty garden vase because we're going to make kind of a garden style arrangement. I'm going to use chicken wire. So I've got enough chicken wire to fit, it's about double the size of the width of the vase. So I'm going to bend it first like a dome and then push it down on the sides and kind of round it. It's really not a ball, it's more like a dome. Place it into my design. I'm not going to be moving this after I make it, so I'm not going to bother putting floral tape on the top. But if you are going to use something like this and then you're going to transport it, you're going to want to tape it with some floral tape. Making sure I keep that rounded look and making sure that it's above the lip of the vase. So it's in the vase. And now I'm going to add my water almost to the top because stems are going to go in sideways and I want to make sure there's water in the vase, but I don't want to go all the way to the top because as I add stems, it'll displace the water and I don't want to have water all over my table. So let's start adding some flowers. Before we start adding flowers, let's talk about what we're going to use. So it's 4th of July theme, so red, white, and blue. So some beautiful red anemones, white yarrow, blue cornflower, and some nice dusty gray eucalyptus. Let me put this water jug down or over here. Okay, so we've got our chicken wire in our vase, and before I start adding flowers, I'm going to add some greenery. So remember, when you're adding anything into the vase, you don't want any leaves on the stem that are going to go into the vase where the water is, because you don't want those leaves to break down in the water and cause bad things to happen, like ethylene gas. That's what happens when the stems start to break down. So in order for you to see my lines, whoops, there goes a yarrow. I'm going to move it over so you can kind of see what's going on. So I've added one of my, this is a type of eucalyptus, into my vase, and I'm cleaning the stem off this one, and this one's a little bit longer, so I don't think I need it quite that long. You do want to go a little bit further out than double the width of the vase. So I'm going to put this one more in the middle and have it drape over, maybe like that. So what I mean is if I added another one of these vases here, I'm coming out about double the width. So that's natural. If I went much farther out, then it would look a little bit unwieldy. So you want to measure your width to be not too far out, or it will look awkward. So use your math skills, or just maybe have two vases of the same kind, and then you can kind of put them next to each other and see how wide to go. So this eucalyptus has a natural drape, so I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to flip it over, but I am going to put it in the middle so that I can add volume in the middle of my design. So even though I'm kind of trying to cover the lip of my vase, not all of my greenery is going to go right on the lip. It's going to go in the middle so I can add some height. This one is going on the lip right in the front, and I'm having it draping over. I took a class once and the instructor said every arrangement, and this is actually for potted arrangement, so when you're doing potted plants, should have 3 elements. A thriller, so like your amazing flower, a spiller, which is something that spills over the side. So that's what we're doing here with this greenery. And filler, because you will have some blank spaces you need to fill in. So everything should have a thriller. So I think our anemones are going to be our thriller today. A spiller, and our greenery is definitely achieving that spilling that we like. So let's see, I need to add a little bit more facing the viewer on this side. So as you'll notice, I'm cutting and placing pretty quick. Cutting, cleaning. I want to place those things into my vase within 10 seconds of giving them a cut, whether you're using a floral knife or cutters. You don't want to wait too long before you get those in the vase. Okay, this is sort of, it's going to be elongated and shorter on the sides, kind of like for a centerpiece. So I think we're doing pretty well on our greenery. We can save some of the greenery to add later. I'm going to put this one right in the middle and have it kind of facing. Remember, no water, no leaves on the stem that's going to go on the water line. Now let's add some flowers. So we have our greenery, the first set of greenery. We might add some more later. Now I'm going to add my anemones, which have opened beautifully since I got them at the market this morning. So they're all going to open at different rates, and they are going to maybe do this curvy thing if they're trying to reach the light. So you're kind of just, sometimes they'll be curvy like this, and sometimes they'll be a little more straight. If you want them to straighten up, maybe tonight, if I were to put them back up in a dark room overnight, they might straighten up a little. I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to arrange with them. So I'm going to start with some going facing, let's see, I said I was going to make this wider on the ends. So let's keep some of these wide. And if I have one that's facing nicely forward, I can put that low towards the user, or towards the user, that's a computer term, towards the viewer. Let's see if I have another one that's really open that I can face maybe kind of low on this side. So I'll show you what I mean. See how these really, the thing about anemones is they have a face, and so they're really going to catch your eye. So that's what makes these the focal. I have another really one that's just going straight up. This one's nice and long and skinny, so I'm going to put that one out to the side. So when you're designing the long, small ones, you can go out to the side like that, or you can go straight up or high in your design, because the principle is tall, small. So the smaller they are, the higher they can go in the design. And then the more open they are, this one isn't open yet, but tomorrow morning I bet it will be, and it's a large face. The more open or the larger they are, the lower they can go in design. Think about it as like a weight issue. So things that are bigger look heavier, even though these flowers all weigh about the same. The ones that are bigger are going to look heavier to the eye. So you want to have them lower in the design so it doesn't look like it's going to tip the design over. So I've spaced my red around so that my eye flows through the design. So obviously, I have a lot more space to fill. So let's go on to our next flower. So go ahead and hope you did your greenery. Now you've done your anemones. And now we're going to go to the next flower. Again, clean as you go. So I'm taking my anemone stems. So I've done my spiller, which is the greenery. I've done my thriller, which is the anemone. So now let's talk about filler. So I have two different other accent flowers. So we have our celebrity flowers today, which are the anemones, and we have our supporting cast, which is going to be our white yarrow and our blue cornflower. This happens to be my son's favorite flower, cornflower. So the yarrow is great because not only is it a nice white highlight, but it's a mass flower. So we can do a couple things with it. We can fill in space. If it's a big mass, we can fill in space low. If it's a small one, we can go high in like little groupings and break up some of the red. So let me look and see. So this one's kind of a big mass, and this is smaller, see? So the smaller one is tall, small, so that'll go up high, and low, large. So the bigger the mass. And what if I didn't have many that were big? Well, what you could do is you could take two that are small, like this, or maybe even three, and put them in next to each other in the design, and then you've created a bigger mass. So that's how you get around that. But the small ones are great because you can throw a highlight high in your design. So what I'm doing is I'm just carefully placing the stems into the chicken wire, in between where the other stems are, And I'm just going to go around to each red flower I've already added, and I'm going to add a buddy. I'm going to add a white yarrow, just to make it easy on myself. I had 10 anemones, so I'm going to add the yarrow. I have more yarrow than I have anemones, so I'm going to add maybe a yarrow on each side of each anemone, so 20 yarrow. And that way I know every red flower is going to have a white highlight next to it. And that will help, basically it'll help highlight it, help make it pop. I think I have some more in the bucket, but we'll just get these in, and I'll ask you guys to do this part, and then I'll come back with the rest of my yarrow and the next flower. Ta-da-da-da-da. Found the rest of my yarrow, so I was right. I have about 20 yarrow in the bunch, which makes, it makes it a nice group of companions for my red anemone. So I'm just cutting and placing. It's okay to kind of tuck underneath the stems you've already put in. So you can add some white highlights low, and then some high and some mid-range. You don't have to have everything super high. You can bring some low in the middle of the design. You can bring it low, because remember, the lower you go into your design, the more you're going to cover the chicken wire. And the thing that's great about this chicken wire is it's green, like they call it floral netting for the industry. And if you get the green covered kind, then it's much easier to hide with your green stems. So it's great. And you can reuse it. So that's great too. It's green and it's green. Okay. Making sure whenever I put a stem in that I get it in the water too. All right, so there are I've got all my yarrow in. So I've given every red flower a buddy or two. And now we're going to add our cornflower. So also called bachelor button. I don't know why they call it that. But remember, any greenery that's going to be below the water line is going to go off the stem. And sometimes you'll have a stem that looks like this. So it's got a lot going on. So we're going to pull some of these things off, because I don't really think you're going to see those. And I'm just going to keep my blue flower by itself. So what I want to do with these is, there are going to be some that are bigger than others. So the bigger ones will go where? Low in the design, although it's not as important. And then the smaller ones that are kind of just blooming maybe will go high. So what we're trying to do here with the cornflower is, they're very delicate. So they're not going to make a big impact, but they are going to really catch your eye, because their color is so vibrant and different. And there aren't that many blue flowers. So when you see blue flowers in a design, you're like, wow, they catch your eye. And these are naturally blue. They're not dyed. Sometimes you'll go to the flower market and you'll see like blue daisies. Those are not really blue in real life. So as far as placing, again, if you're like, I don't know where to put these, put one near every red flower, because then you'll end up getting in between the white flowers, and you'll highlight, you'll give a nice contrast to the red flowers. And this is my tip. Don't bury them, because that one's bent, because they are so delicate. You don't want them to be buried in the design. They won't be seen. So you want to keep them visible, okay? Some of these are broken. Sometimes that happens in transport. It's a bummer. This one's crazy. It's very curly, a little bent at the end, but I'm going to use it anyway. I'm going to have it come down here, out to the side. Oh, it's pretty. So I've got some good blue on that side, but I don't have any on this side. So let's work on this side that's facing me. Sometimes if you have a bent stem and you still want to use it, what you can do is you can kind of lay it on another stem. And since we have, that works really well with when you're working with hydrangea, you can kind of fake it. Like you can put your flower so it kind of lays over the hydrangea. So I'm going to do that with some of my yarrow. I'm going to, if I have a bent cornflower, but it still looks pretty good, I'm going to lay it over a yarrow, because it's the yarrow, remember the yarrow is white, so it's going to highlight. Once you start adding a lot of stems, it's going to get kind of tight in there and it'll be hard to add more stems. So don't force it. Let's see, this one is nice and not bent. So this can be a little tedious. These are very thin stems. So what we're doing is we're not going to try to fill the whole pot. We're just trying to give that blue highlight. Okay. I got to clean up my table so I can see what's going on. And see where I need to add my next item. So why don't you add your blue, all of your white and your blue, and then come on back. I found one more cornflower that's, well, not as bent in the bucket. So I think I need, let's see, I think I need some blue here out to the sides. I'm going to tuck that in under. Good. And now I have another kind of greenery. It's called tree fern that I'm going to use to fill in. And I have the rest of my eucalyptus. And then I also have some white spray roses. So all of these flowers are grown in the United States. So I encourage you this week coming up, it's American Flowers Week, American farmers, celebrating American farmers. And I wanted to use flowers that are all grown here that you can get this time of year for your arrangements. So this tree fern is great. There's a lot of greenery that's grown in the United States. The ferns are grown down in Florida. Some are grown up, some greenery is grown up in Oregon and Washington State. Some is grown right here in California. Different depends on the kind of greenery. The eucalyptus is harvested locally, also right near us too. But this type is grown for the industry. So what I'm doing with the tree fern, it's crazy like this. So you can pull it and make it bunched and then cut it. And then when you push it way down into the chicken wire, it makes that chicken wire disappear. So, I mean, it didn't magically disappear. It's just now I can't really see it. So I'm tucking some underneath to go with my eucalyptus. So it's helping do the job of disguising your architecture. And it doesn't take a lot to really make everything sort of blend in nicely. So you just want to keep it short enough so you don't cover up your flowers. Okay. So looking at this, I see that I don't have a red flower right in the middle of my design. I'm going to pull one out and I'm going to replace one that I put originally on the side, but now I'm going to put it in the middle. And this gets tricky because you got to find a place for it to fit. So you got to make sure it fits through. First of all, it goes through the chicken wire, and then it's going to go through the stems. So I'm going to give it a quick trim. And then to get it into the design, I'm going to twist it, like twist, twist, twist between my fingers and twist, twist, twist. I just cut it, so I got to find a spot to get it into my design. Okay. Now, it's getting caught. I have to put some of this eucalyptus in the middle because I have it all around the sides, but nothing coming through the middle. And you got to have things low, medium, and large, or low, medium, and tall. So I got to get this to go in the middle too, so that eucalyptus is coming up through the middle. And then on this side, so you want to keep some that has some height. Then I want to go towards this side. And then this one's nice and long, so let's keep that and have this come over this way. And these are nice and skinny stems. So, right, so then the last thing we need to do is add a little bit of a pop, more pop of the white flowers. I want to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to take everything off my table and see. I've got these beautiful spray roses grown down in San Diego. And let's see what we got. Looking pretty good. I need some pops though. Pop of brightness. So I'm going to keep some of the leaves on. Sometimes there's a little snip where the grower snipped a flower so more sprays would come out. So I'm going to add that there on the side. This one has some nice volume on it. Just taking some of the leaves off. So I'm going to add this on this side. This is going to add a little bit of a spiller effect when you have it low. Get it into the water. So now I've done the two sides, so I need to bring that up into the middle. So this one looks nice. There's one of those parts that was cut by the grower, so I'm going to trim that off so you don't see that. And I'm going to measure how high I need it to be by holding it up, and I'm going to kind of eyeball how much I need to cut off, and then I'm going to try to find a spot right there in the middle to get that rose to pop. So now that I have the two sides and the one in the middle, I need to bring one here and one on the back side. So I have this one. So I need to slip it in right here in this hole. Getting really tight in there with those stems. So I said I wanted it a little lower. This one on this side. And another one. Okay. Now the best thing to do when you think you're done is to step away from it and look at it from a distance and turning it around and seeing. So if I think anything is too far out, I can always pull it out carefully by twisting it to pull it out and putting it back in. And I'm also going to check and make sure that all my stems are in the water. And these stems are going to drink a lot. When you have, like, especially yarrow, flowers like yarrow drink a lot of water, like wildflower types. So you need to make sure you've got a lot of water in that vase, and you need to check it every day. So, happy 4th of July.